In this session, we will talk about AI's role in lead gen and building tomorrow's billion-dollar businesses. And I have Kate Gray with me. We connected recently on Instagram, I believe, but also saw her speaking on some events. And I saw that she's doing amazing things when it comes to AI and how that's making her company and the way she works with clients a lot more efficient. And she's also the co-founder and visionary behind Growth Impact Group. So I'm going to let her tell us a little bit more what it is that she actually does and how that could translate into kind of the creators we have on here for the summits and the sessions we do here in this series. So with that being said, warm welcome, Kate.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. It's really, really, really exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this. And of course, the topic is kind of intriguing, right? Building tomorrow's billion-dollar businesses, but it happens actually with the help of technology, and especially now in the age of AI. Like, you can do this a lot easier than before. Like, we're not promising that you're gonna build a billion-dollar business, of course. Like, that's not what we mean. But you can do things. I believe that a lot of creators actually will be, with Mr. Beast. There's other people that will be, in the hundreds of millions, if not billionaires, because they are leveraging this. And if you can just take a small pie of this, right, you can like do really well. So before we get into all of that, tell me a little bit about what it is that you actually do and how you got into the world of AI.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So I used to run an appointment setting agency. We had setters, SDRs, and we would do outbound lead generation for coaching companies. And I found it extremely difficult to manage large groups of people to stay consistent and predictable with their results. Humans being humans, which I love humans. So I want to just preface before I say what I'm about to say, is that they get sick. Some days I don't feel good. So some weeks an SDR would come in and book 20 calls. The next week they might book one. So the challenge we had was keeping humans consistent, to keep the results consistent, to make our clients happy. And so I was like, gosh, it would be wonderful if we could use artificial intelligence for this, because I think that artificial intelligence has the capacity to be smarter than us in the intellectual component. Obviously, emotional intelligence and the other parts that make us human, it doesn't have. But when ChatGPT 4 came out, I was like, okay, we've got to create something where at least I can get the texting component of what we do taken care of by AI. And so we partnered with another company and we created an SMS prospecting bot, which is not new now. Everyone has them. But what makes it unique with what we do is we have it in the entire system that includes an AI caller, AI SMS prospecting bot, cold email, voice message drops, and that goes out on mass distribution because we use AI. So we can literally reach 40,000 to 120,000 people a month. Whereas if we were doing humans, we would never be able to hit that. We'd be lucky if we had a team of 10, each SDR would be making 100 calls a week. And now we can do 100,000. So, 100 calls a week, 400 compared to 100,000 is a massive volume jump.
Mhm. Yeah, very interesting. So the person basically you have the caller is like, and basically the AI is taking care of that. So are they calling like the prospect in this case? How is this working out? Like, I'm
Yeah.
curious to know. I know it's possible, but how are they reacting to this when they're like, let's say you're calling me, you want to close me on a sale, right? And it's an AI, your AI clone is calling.
Mhm.
How does that work? Like, that's
Yes.
interesting.
Well, firstly, the AI clone has an Australian voice, which I'm really excited about. It
Okay, that's
actually
awesome.
and we tested it. We tested male English, male American, female English, and then we had female Australian. And the best one to book the calls was female Australian. So I'm not sure what that says about Americans because we are early in
Because
America,
Australians,
but
they're friendly. They're like, good day, mate. Like,
yeah, but basically, so what happens is they've already come through a little bit of a pipeline before our AI outbound caller calls them. So they've already received an email, they've opted in for something, and then we basically call them and we offer them a free assessment and that varies whether it's an assessment or a free like a checklist call or a roadmap call. It depends on what client we're working with, but basically it's a free call. That call is a value give to the client, but it's technically a qualification triage type process for us to make sure that the client is potentially able to buy from our clients. So that we then send it to the closing team. So all that the little AI person does, or Humanoid does is they literally just qualify them to get on a free call that we're giving that goes in conjunction with a free download that our client has made, has opted
What
in
does it
for.
say? What in on this little call? What does it say? It's not like the long. It's not a long call, right? It's pretty short, right? I assume.
Yeah, it's kind of short. Anyway, it depends on how much information the people want to actually give. So we tested this extensively before we went live with people. And one of the people we tested it with was actually my father-in-law, who was the co-founder of Upwork, Odesk. And
Oh,
he was in the
really?
tech. Yeah,
That's
he was
crazy.
in the, yeah. So he's like Silicon Valley, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. He was like part of that original boom back in the day. And he couldn't tell that it was artificial intelligence. He was the last seal of approval that we got. So basically what it does is it says, hey, Nav, you actually downloaded one of our amazing offers. Have you opened it yet? And they're like, yes or no. Okay, no worries. Tell me where you're at with your business. And then where would you want to be in 10 years? So it future paces the person, and then it offers them and goes, look, we'd be happy to offer you a free call. There's no obligation on this call. If we think we can help you beyond that, what we'll do is we'll refer you to our colleague who's human, and they'll give you more information. But they don't say they're human, but the colleague is
Yeah,
human.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's it. And they either say yes or no. That's
Okay,
literally it.
amazing. This is really innovative. I haven't heard too many people talk about it, but I think that's also the future. Like if you want to scale processes and things like that. But I assume do the people realize that it's an AI voice, like when they're coming on there? Because
Yeah.
doesn't so my question would be, is it limited to what, because you have fed it some information, I guess it can share. Like what if it runs out of the information because it doesn't have, or how much have you actually given it to say on these calls?
So both the SMS and the outbound caller AI they're connected into ChatGPT 4. So
Uh-huh.
they actually access the data from there as well as our prompt. So it's difficult for it to run out of information. And what we
Okay.
find is it'll say things that I didn't even prompt it or train it to say, because it's pulling things from ChatGPT 4. And the more it works in your industry, the better it gets, and the faster it learns, and the more access it has to information that we didn't even put into it. And that even includes the ability to tell jokes and have a sense of humor. For example, that we were looking at one of the SMS transcripts the other day, and somebody said they kind of caught on a little bit, and they said, "Oh, are you even real?" Because it was for outbound AI lead generation. That was what we were pitching. It was for us. So of course they're going to go, "Is this AI?" Like anyone with a bit of intelligence. And it said to the bot, "Are you even real?" And the bot's response was, "I can assure you I'm as real as Ryan Reynolds' abs." No, I never told it to, I don't know where I got that from. I was like,
I
okay,
don't know.
cool.
Maybe it's like, maybe it can learn, maybe it can train but this is like the reason I asked this, because it's an interesting thing to cover something like this. And also it's different because I think like a lot of people, you can upload to a knowledge base or something like that, or you can have like chat, like there's different tools for it, right? You can have
Mhm,
like an AI
mhm,
powered customer support, AI
mhm,
powered like chat with
mhm.
yourself. It's a little bit similar, but taking it to another level almost. I feel
Yeah.
like you are like scaling this. This is like to new leads basically, or not just your close circle of people who might you upload some responses, or you like your blog, your site. You can upload, like if you have a site with a lot of content, just upload
Mhm.
that and
Yeah,
it will learn
easy.
everything, which is great. But you're like this seems that it's pulling more things than just what you give it. But how do
Mhm.
you? What if it gives them something you didn't share that they should say? Like you must have instructions, right, with your prompts behind the scenes or something like that. So you give them like this you can't say because otherwise it's gonna sound really bad. For example,
Yeah.
ChatGPT,
Mhm.
if you go into the tool, it can give you a wide variety of responses as you are
Mhm.
familiar with, but you have prompted this kind of setup you have to give it like instructions to act in a specific way. That's how I assume it's
Correct.
set up. Yeah.
It is correct. So it has rules. So it has things that it can't say. Like, for example, it's always to give a compliment. It's never asked for a call to be booked in the first 3 messages. So it's not just going in and being like, hey, let's get on a call. Because we all know that sucks when somebody does that,
Yeah.
whether it's in your DMs or SMS or email. So it's given rules and guidelines to act as human as possible. It's also told that it has an extensive background in SDR work, in sales, in customer service. So when it's actually accessing the information, because it's coming from ChatGPT 4 and our prompts, It's accessing information based on the fact that that's its background. So just the same way you'd put a prompt into ChatGPT when you're wanting it to write, direct response copy, you'd be like, act like you're a world-class direct response copywriter. It's
Mhm.
taking that prompt it's interacting as if
Mm.
it's a world-class salesperson, as if it
Yeah.
has 10 years in customer service. So that's how it's developing its identity and the way it interacts and the lens in which it sees the conversation through.
No, it's really, really interesting. And so this year you developed this, or is there something you can do? Let's say you wanted to do something like that. You can translate it into a creative business. Maybe you're selling courses, or maybe you have a coaching program or something like that. How would someone be able to implement? Let's say they want to develop something. Okay,
Yeah.
is there possibilities to do this without much code or something like that, or like something you can set up? I don't know how you guys, if you built it in house, I guess for you.
So that's, yeah, the team we partnered with, they built it all in-house and it's held in essentially a white label of Go High Level, but the integrations are just, it's just literally integrated with Twilio because it has to be sent out via SMS, Go High Level, and then ChatGPT 4 with a bunch of prompts. And there are a few other little things in there, but everyone has these now. These are not necessarily, in terms of our industry, very new. Like I know Ted McGraw's got one. Dan, I can't remember Dan's last name. I love Dan, but he's
Yeah.
got one. Everyone has
Yeah,
one,
very
but
cool. Yeah.
the difference with us is you don't need to provide us with leads. We get the leads and we get them to opt into your things, because with compliance issues, so we had to do a lot of hours in actually making sure we were compliant legally, because you can't just get somebody's phone number or put it into an SMS prospecting bot and text them. It's illegal. So they have to opt in somehow. So all these other people that have the bots, there's Max AI as well that has pretty much exactly the same stuff. So if somebody is a creator and they're looking at doing this, that maybe they're running ads, they have a lot of phone numbers. My suggestion would be go and connect with Max AI and then get the phone numbers you're getting from the ads from the people that don't opt in or don't show up for calls, put them into Max AI, and then Max AI will do exactly what I'm telling you that we do in our system.
Very interesting. I think this is cool. So how do you create the clone? I mean, there's some software for this as well. I don't know if you use 11 Labs or something like that to, I mean, you didn't clone your voice, your own voice yet, right? I mean,
No.
that would take it to another level to just speak to
Yeah,
you, right? Or like someone
that
on your
would be
team.
cool. That would be
Yeah, I
really
don't know
cool.
where you get, you're just taking like an AI voice. Do you use a tool for this as well?
It's just an AI voice. So the software so what we've done with the outbound caller is we didn't develop our own outbound caller. We connected in with another software that was already created. And that's Air AI. Everybody pretty much knows Air AI. So the problem with any AI, and there's a lot of complaints that people had around Air AI, is that it glitches and the AI is only as good as the person prompting it. It's that simple. And so a lot of people are having bad experiences because they technically don't know how to speak AI. If you know how to speak AI and your prompts are solid and your prompts are good and you're good at sales, you're going to have a really good experience. But there was a lot of negative feedback out there, but we've never had that. So basically within Go High Level, we've built our entire system, including the SMS prospecting bot, and then we connect in Air AI. And then when there's a tag, the caller knows it's got to call out. When it books, it tags back and then it marks it as booked and moves the opportunity along the pipeline within the CRM. That's essentially what we've
Okay.
done.
That's pretty much most of this process. You said it's like automated. You said like 70% or something like that, which is pretty.
70%. A
And
human only.
what did it look like before? Can you tell me? Because automation is nothing new. It has to like
Yeah, no.
existed. Like
Yeah.
that's like very. It's been as long as I've been online. There's been some form of automation with different email marketing tools and different
Hmm.
things we are using.
Hmm.
Now with AI, it's just taking it to a whole nother level. It's just AI plus every automation tool you might have. They are integrating this. Like with you
Yes.
mentioned, Go High Level as one tool, but I think like all the tools we are used to using, they're just integrating with AI and just making it a lot easier to do certain things that would take maybe days before or even longer sometimes, which is interesting. Or you can do it with a smaller team. So you save money essentially as a business owner, which is great. So is
Yes.
that kind of how you work with it as well? What's the process now? Like 70%? Like what is automated and
Mhm,
what do
mhm,
you do
mhm,
yourself?
mhm. So we have there's a software that's been around forever called Seamless AI. They're huge. They're basically like the yellow pages of Google. And they can go in and they can scrape data from anywhere. For example, you can actually go on to say Tesla's website. I did this just because it was entertaining. And you can do a search of every single employee that works at Tesla based on, like, say this, you want a C-suite executive earning X amount of dollars per year, female, and you press go and it'll pull every single person off that website that works at that company. So we get all the information from Air AI, Seamless AI. It goes into Go High Level. Once it goes in, the email is triggered. Once they respond to the email, then the Air caller is triggered. So they get a phone call. If they don't answer the phone call, then the tag gets triggered and they get the SMS prospecting bot, because 98% of SMSs that are sent out are actually opened. And we have a reply rate of around about 78 to 81%, depending
Wow,
on the industry.
that's
So
crazy.
we try and call first, because then we can say in our SMS script, hey, we tried to call you. So it kind of
Mhm.
like, it seems, we'll call it like, I guess, ad sent or like messaging sent. It all smells the same all the way through, so they don't feel jarred.
Yeah. Is there something like with WhatsApp as well you can do as a business, or do you integrate with that as well, like to send out with WhatsApp? I don't know what's the rules and legislation, but I can see
I'm
like a
not
lot of
sure.
people. Sometimes I get
Yeah.
random messages there. I don't know if they.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I think there's less legislation around WhatsApp.
Yeah.
However, if I get a random message, I don't answer it or
Yeah,
respond
I
to
would
it.
say, but a lot of people hang out in their WhatsApp though. That's why it's
Do.
just like I don't check my SMS that often unless it's like an important like code or something like that I need. But yeah, you see it pop
Yeah.
up in your phone. Maybe in your WhatsApp you have it like on silent or whatever, but your SMS
Mhm.
usually shows up. So it's
Yes.
interesting. So
Yeah.
but in your business to create content and things like that, this is like for the lead gen part. But
Mhm.
what do you do in your business to drive more people to your, I guess, to your website and create content and things like that? What's some strategies you use there?
Yeah. So our content is very simple. I film content once a month. It goes into Get Munch, which I'm pretty sure most of the creators here
Nice.
will know. Get Munch chops it up, puts the captions on. We don't really add B-roll or anything like that. So I think you could then put that into CapCut if people wanted to do that on their own, which I'm sure all the creators know CapCut. But we just like to keep it simple, because for us, our social media and our content creation is just an authority piece. So if we're talking to a company, they're just going to go check our social media out to make sure we exist. Social media is like a CV these days. So we don't want to go to too much trouble because we're not content creators, but we used to take us hours to do. I would spend 3 hours in the studio. Then my team would have to cut up all the videos, add captions to the videos. Then they would have to post them. Now I film for 3 hours, goes into Get Munch. They just make some adjustments because sometimes the captions are weird. That's my accent, I think. I say one thing and it captions another thing. So they just make sure all that's right. Then they just put it into Loomly and then they just push it out and it's done. So it saves us hours than what it used to.
Yeah, no, it's a good process. The same with kind of what I'm doing. I'm creating like long form videos or something like
Mhm,
that, and then I can take it into a tool and I can basically get either the transcript or I can get a blog post out of
mhm,
it. I can do a lot of things with just like one piece of content. This is like my main piece of content. The same way you might show up like once a month to do something.
mhm,
You have
mhm,
instead of creating every day and you create for each platform, you can just make like whatever the main piece of content you create, like that might be videos, that might be a blog post. You can turn that into Twitter threads or X threads or like Instagram posts or LinkedIn
mhm.
posts or something like that. It's just a lot more efficient and you don't need to spend as
Yes.
much time because I think you are spending most of the time in the, where do you spend, where do you say you spend the most time in your business right now as a CEO?
I spend most of my time managing the systems. So
Mhm.
I'm making sure everything's working properly. My team send me the data, or the program spits out the data. I assess the data, tweak things where needed. I'm just really the overviewer. I just make sure that everything is actually working correctly. The beautiful thing about AI is it's pretty repetitive and consistent with the results that it spits out. It's not like a human. So before, when I was running a human agency, I was putting out fires. I was speaking to upset team members because something happened in their family at home. I don't have any of that now. I have so much more free time to actually then look at the vision of where my company is going and how we can improve the technology. Can we make it better? What are we missing? How can we go 100%? I don't see us being able to go 100% AI. Like, once somebody's booked in, they need to speak to a human. At
Yeah.
this point, I don't know how to get around that. I did have a call with someone the other day who said they would rather speak to AI to close them. They don't want to speak to a human. So I'm like, maybe people would rather speak to AI. I don't know, but that's
Maybe
when
like hey, yeah, the emotions, less emotions. But I think
that's
it's
right.
just interesting, because you're spending more. I think like before you would spend like a lot of time on this. Have you found that like maybe some, have AI replaced some employees of yours? Not in a bad way. I'm just saying like taking like now you don't need more employees because AI has actually just helps you with this a lot and doing it a lot faster. Or do maybe you have some employees doing that work now that took a lot of time.
We used to have a team of around 60. We now have a team of 10.
There you go. That's okay. Like now we can say goodbye.
Yeah.
AI is helping. I mean, that just goes to show, and that's what I'm saying all the time. Like as a small creator or a creator starting out, you can be like a few years ago, you probably needed like 5 to 10 team members, and now you can be like one person and do basically the same job, or like a VA, or you
Yes.
don't need even employees. I'm just saying like if you have a small, you don't need to hire like full time
Mhm.
employees. Just go with I used online jobs a lot before in the Philippines or something like that. And they can, it's easy to learn a lot of these tools. They're not like that's, I mean, you need to learn how to prompt and things like, but I'm talking like taking like a video you're doing and putting it into a tool, cutting it up. It's pretty easy. And it's a
Very.
learnable skill to do it. So I think that
Yes.
just saves a lot of time. And I'm excited
So
we
much
share.
time. Yes. I worked with Gary Vee in 2019. So he mentored me. And I remember catching up with him in Australia for he did like some mastermind there. And he was traveling with a team of 12 video content creators to push out. And I need to ask him because I'm super curious now what he travels with because I have a sneaky suspicion he's at least halved the amount of content creators he has to travel with.
Yeah, I think that depends. Depends how many shots because obviously you cannot replicate the shots in person. If he brings them on because he wants them to edit faster and do it in his way, I think that it's still difficult for AI to do exactly that. And
That's true.
I'm not sure if every person is using like, yeah, you can use you say you use Get Munch, right? And there's Opus Clip, there's
Mhm.
different tools for this.
Mhm.
They're doing a pretty good job. Is it good doing exactly the same job as a world-class editor? No, it doesn't.
Mm. No
Like, of
way.
course
No
not. You're
way.
not going to replace
Mm.
someone with 10 years of experience in editing. So I don't know, like maybe, I mean, he's not like a cinematic creator like Gary Vee,
Mhm.
so he could probably use something like that, but I don't know if he gets his vibe, he has a specific style of doing
Yes.
it and
Yeah. He
people
does.
might recognize that. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
like the cuts
Mhm.
and things like that, his team
Mhm.
he has been doing for years. So I don't know, but
Mhm.
it's an interesting question to ask. Like
Yeah. I'm
big
curious.
creators. I mean, I would
Yeah.
say he's a creator, but he's also a big
Yeah.
entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm curious. Even the scheduling, like maybe using AI to schedule where once he needed a person to do that, even just cutting your team by one is an interesting thing. Like it's like, okay, cool. And AI is so archaic really now. If you think about it, like, yes, it's so advanced, but compared to where it's actually going to go, we're in the early days.
yeah, I think we can get into that a little bit. But what would you
Mhm.
say for like creators, like maybe in the early stages, or they are getting some traction, and especially when we're talking about lead gen, right? And this way you are doing it, which is a little more advanced, no, like for
Mhm.
people maybe to set this up in instantly. You have done this for
Mhm.
years, but let's say someone want
Mhm.
to get started with lead gen and using AI for this. What are some tips and strategies you would recommend people to actually use AI in the lead generation process?
Yeah, it depends if they're running ads or if they're doing organic and if they're selling high ticket or low ticket
We
or
can give
medium
like a few
ticket.
different examples here. So let's start
Yeah.
with like organic first, and let's say
Mhm.
that's like what do you consider low ticket, like in the hundreds, $100 plus, like around hundred
Under a
less,
thousand, under a
yeah, under a
thousand.
thousand, like yeah. But
Yeah.
it's different low
Yeah.
tickets. So like you're
Yeah.
probably not gonna have $1,000 offer after opt-in. So that's
No.
that's not low
No,
ticket. But
please don't.
yeah, I mean,
So
yeah, don't do that.
don't
But
do that. Don't be
yeah,
bad.
but like in general, so what would you do
Yeah.
to like generate quality leads for in an organic way, and then we can get into ads since it's a little bit different.
Mhm. Well, definitely content is extremely important if you're doing anything organic. Having a solid content strategy. And I do agree with Alex Samosi in terms of like volume. You want to have a good level of quality. In my opinion, unless you're somebody who is like a video creator or something like that, then I definitely wouldn't suggest you using Get Munch. I think that that would undermine your craft and your skills because that's your specialty. But for somebody who's selling like courses online, use something like Get Munch, Video IO, create your content. Like you said, get transcripts, make carousels, make quotes, make long form posts, all from just say film once, 20 minutes, put it into Get Munch, pull out the transcripts, create written posts, infographics, carousels, all of that, push it out, get all that automated, get a really strong content strategy. And how you get a strong content strategy is you want to share what the market wants to hear. Ask ChatGPT. So that's literally how I create my content. I ask, what are the top 20 most Googled questions in this niche? And so if you look at the top 20 most Googled questions in this niche, then you create your content around that. So you're actually delivering the market what they want to hear rather than what you think they want to hear, because ChatGPT can like cross-reference all these data points. Even though it's a little out of date, it's still in date enough. Then have a strong content strategy. Then use something like Flowchat. Flowchat will help you
Right.
continue to build out your organic. So you need to have a good pool of assets, right? You can't sell to nobody. So make sure you know what Facebook groups your people are hanging out in. Use something like Flowchat to go in. It'll automatically scrape the profiles. It'll add them as a friend and then start having conversations. So if you want to sell something organically, you need a combination of content and conversations. Content alone, unless you're a big deal like Alex Hermosi, generally isn't going to, particularly if you're selling low ticket because you've got to sell high volume, isn't going to get you enough lead flow to actually be able to convert. You need to have conversations with people. That's my opinion. That's how I've done it. But I've always sold really high ticket as well.
You
Very
know,
easy.
I think this a, I think it's a good process because you're coming from the high ticket world, and this can be translated as well to like more courses and things like that, which typically
Yeah.
is like in the maybe 1,000 below. Some courses, of course, can be up to 2,000. I've seen that some courses even
Yeah.
more expensive as well, but
Yeah.
that's like a different process to sell. But something interesting regarding this you mentioned is you can also use like bots and things like that with AI, right?
Mhm,
That's
mhm,
usually even on Instagram. Like the selling doesn't happen in the like link in description and things like that. It's
mm-mm.
usually when they DM, like the DM, so you can automate a lot of this process. I'm curious. I think like when we started chatting, actually, when I do think that your first message will automate it potentially, like the first when I just like followed or you followed me or something. I'm not sure if it was, but it sounded like that. Hey, because you didn't reply instantly, and then you
Yeah.
replied when I replied
Yeah.
back. You remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
are you using like bots in marketing a lot?
I'm actually not. That was me.
No,
No, but
I didn't know because it was very fast. It was very, but I'm happy we connected either way.
yeah, me
I'm
too.
glad.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, ManyChat. Most people are using ManyChat, I believe,
Mhm.
and integration. Personally, for me, I feel social media is extremely saturated, and
Mhm.
I don't rely on social media for lead generation. Like that's why we do outbound. I'm an outbound girl. I'm really good at taking someone from cold to client. That's my thing. I'm good at communication. I understand how to non-offensively actually pitch people to get them to say yes, so it's their idea. Like that's always been my jam. And for me, social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn is a pitch fest. My goodness, you can't go on there without being pitched 25 times a day.
I
Um,
feel LinkedIn is good. Yeah, I know it's a pitch fest in terms of like people sending like some messages, of course. But I do think the platform when I started like in 2013, 2012, 2013,
mhm,
2014, like getting into it, LinkedIn was horrible. Now LinkedIn
mhm.
is really I feel it's like a place for creators go and actually create pretty valuable content.
Yeah,
If you want
it's
to
actually
reach
true.
people in the algorithm and on LinkedIn, if you post links that doesn't work, it doesn't work
Mhm.
well. So you need to lead with value carousels. Like some of the carousels I've seen on LinkedIn, there are 50 slides, 50.
Yeah.
Like on Instagram, you
Wow.
only allow 10, right? So what does that
Mhm.
say? LinkedIn, they want more content heavy things. People have a higher attention span, essentially, or longer attention span to check the content out. So which is great
100%.
if you are, and also more and more people have money on LinkedIn, I think. But I do
Mhm.
agree with you that it's a pitch fest in terms of like
It's a,
some people are getting into the DM and they are just, I mean, starting with a pitch or something, or they are doing it in a sneaky
yes.
way.
Yes. I
Yeah. So
mean, if I agree. I agree. Like LinkedIn people, there's a higher salary the salary is higher, like compared to LinkedIn or TikTok, which is like, I think 18,000 is the average salary for a TikTok user. It's pretty low. I think that when it comes to pitching, what's really important, which is not super relevant to our conversation, but I'll add it in for anyone that's listening, is taking someone from a cold prospect to a client. You've got to think of it in terms of 30-day cycle. You can't just go in and pitch somebody like that doesn't know you. They don't trust you. When you slide into someone's DMs, they're the internal like thing that's happening for them is this person a threat to my money, my time, or my energy? And if you kind of like slightly trigger that you might be one of those three, they won't respond to you. So you have to actually build a relationship first. And Gary Vee said this. He said relationships are currency, and then you convert them into a client. And you can use ManyChat to do that. ManyChat will integrate into Facebook, the Meta platforms. I don't know if it does it into LinkedIn. I'm sorry, but just go to give first, give to people first, and then once you've given, then nurture them, and then make them an offer.
Yeah, because that also like goes hand in hand with AI, right? Manage has been around for years, but now of course they are diving more into AI and doing things because it just makes sense, right? It's like AI powered bots and things like that. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool, I think. So
yeah,
I mean, you can save a lot of time in customer support and things like that. I've seen like just like Wonder Chat. I've seen Wisdom
yeah.
AI by Searchy is
Yeah,
pretty cool by Stu McLaren's team is doing a great job. This is mostly for the creator. It's pretty simple.
yeah.
You just upload you can like scrape your site basically. You have a sitemap and you just upload the sitemap. It just knows everything about your site. Or like you have a course, you can do the same thing, right? And you just have your videos and it's okay. It knows about you right now. And it knows like if I wanted to have a few questions that I always get about virtual summits or topics I'm knowledgeable
Mhm.
about, then it would just know it instantly. It's pretty cool. I think so.
That's
I
really
mean,
cool.
it's
I
just
love
it just
that.
saves a lot of time essentially. Uh, yeah, so let's keep going here with this. So, what else have you seen? What do you see some trends that people should be watching out for when it comes to AI and things that you might be leveraging in the future as well?
I definitely feel like I guess, the AI version of people that people are creating in terms of being able to coach people. So, um, our partner is partnered in a company that's creating literally AI version of coaches for some well-known coaches. So rather than the coaches having to show up to deliver courses, what happens is very much like the OnlyFans girl who really spearheaded and revolutionized this. People pay and they get to go into a room and they get to have a conversation and they get to be coached by, say, Tony Robbins or Richard Branson. I think that that is something to really look out for because what's going to happen is the thing that AI gives us is leverage and volume. And if you want to get rich, it's not about earning more, it's about building more leverage. And also another thing, if you want to be wealthy, find out where the world's going and get there first, right? So get there first. Find out how you can build leverage and volume by AI tools that are relevant to your market. Maybe as a creator, your thing is now all your reels are the AI version of you. Maybe that's your niche. Maybe that's what makes you stand out. All my thumbnails at the moment are all AI versions of me thumbnails. So, like, how can you use that technology to leverage yourself to do mass volume in ways that you wouldn't have been able to do before?
Yeah, the mass volume thing is interesting to scale yourself. I think scale
Yeah.
yourself with AI or clone yourself. Basically, I
Yep.
think that's gonna be very powerful. And yeah, as I mentioned, you can do this with certain tools right now in some way, but I think it's gonna be more powerful when you can even have your kind of AI avatar. And you can do it to some extent. It's just like you need to have some training, and it's like if you have a lot of content, it will be more expensive. I think that technology is gonna get more. It's gonna get a lot cheaper with time. So you can have like, and you can scale this. You can do this for lead gen as well. I can imagine like you're gonna have really amazing stuff. So someone signs up, they get basically free coaching because doesn't take any of your time. That
Right.
should be. You can also have a free. You can have like free part, and you can have something even when they sign up for a paid program and they get more support, like more. Maybe
Yes.
that's more in depth, and they might,
Yes.
at the end get some call with you personally. I don't know. It's just the
Yeah.
opportunities are endless. Because you're doing a lot of work, like consulting work or like implementing things for clients, right? So I could see this like working for just to cut down support time and things like that for your clients, right? You just have all
Yes.
the knowledge like downloaded basically, and they have a version of you that just gives them all this information.
Well, that was the whole reason we wanted to use AI is I'd always be like, I can't translate my experience and my brain and my skills into other people's minds. And I was like, imagine if I could just put it into the AI mind. And that's why our bot and our outbound caller does so well because it's taken years of my experience in that field and it replicates it perfectly. AI doesn't see or hear you through the lens of its own belief system or identity. It just does what you tell it to do. So it collapses that human error component where people hear, good communication is not what we say, it's what they hear, right? Well, most of us think we're good communicators and we're not. And so when we're managing teams, we think we're communicating X, and they're hearing A, and then they mess up on a client, the client gets mad, that wastes 2 days of putting out fires. We've just removed all of that with AI. It'll do what you tell it to do without the human lens, which is actually amazing.
Yeah, and you said even that some people prefer the AI. Like some people
Yeah.
prefer it. Is it? Would you say that's because it has less? I mean, doesn't have emotion, right? It's not like cannot react to things, and it's just maybe less intimidating to speak to someone like that. Because if they are
Yeah.
speaking to you, they feel like, oh, I'm speaking to Kate. She's the founder of this company. I'm like, I don't know what to say. And actually, I've had this experience before, but I did like a coaching program and things like that. People sometimes they might not wanna. I think they can speak their mind more when they're not speaking. If they speak to me, they maybe cannot speak their mind completely. Or like I've had also sales calls when I'm going on a call for a mastermind or something. Sometimes it's difficult. Like either say no or yes. Like it
Yeah.
can go both ways, right?
Yeah.
Depending on how you feel about the person. Like maybe they're really a good closer or like really convincing, but it's maybe not a really good fit for you. But with the AI, you feel like, okay, this I can like say no because I don't I don't have
Yes.
any, I don't know this person. This person, it's not, I don't have any feelings with this person or anything like that. So I think that
I
might be a
agree.
reason. Yeah. So
Yeah, I agree. For me, I hate the BS of sales. I just want to know what it is. I was like, I've been in this industry long enough. If it works for me, I'll know I'll pay. I don't want all the other like, imagine where you're going to be in 10 years' time. I'm like, dude, let's just not waste time here. Just tell me what it is. That's why I
yeah,
prefer the AI.
think that, yeah, the attention span and things like that. But
Yeah.
since you say you're really good with communication, obviously, which is really important when it comes to sales. So what would you say? Like some people, we talked a little bit about how to communicate, how to, get in touch with people and things like that. What's some things that you feel working to connect with people in the industry? Maybe that's for sales or other things. What's some good strategies there? And that's maybe not as scalable. Maybe that's something you will do personally. I don't know where AI
Yeah.
would play a role, but still, I think you need to
Yeah.
do the unscalable things as well. And then AI is like a complement
Agreed.
to everything.
I agree. And that's an interesting point because when we had our human setters and SDRs, we were able to personalize our emails, personalize our messages, which
Mhm.
we've lost that with AI. We can't do that, but we've been able to balance it out with the volume. But if you aren't at a point where you can use AI like we have, the personalization component is extremely effective. You can send less messages and get better responses because you actually are caring to people. Now, as long as you're messaging the right people, the first thing in terms of communication is I know people might roll their eyes when they hear me say this, but don't go into the conversation looking at how you can get a client, looking at how you can make a friend, build a relationship. And the byproduct of that will be what if the trust is there and you actually have the solution to their problem, the byproduct of that will always be a client. But if you go in going, how can I get money off this person? How can I sell them something? What's going to happen is they're going to sense it. They say desperation smells. There's nothing worse than the smell of desperation. There's a girl that really likes you and she's like messaging you all the time and calling you all the time.
Okay.
It's just like, ew, like go away.
It's
Because you
too, yeah,
know
it's
that,
like the
yeah.
same. It is needy, right? It's like a little needy. Yeah.
Yeah. And that translates into sales. The more
Mhm.
disconnected and aloof you are about having to make a sale, and the more you go in and build a relationship, because the market is smart now. People have been pitched a lot. People have been sold to a lot. People have been ripped off a lot. There's a large percentage of our industry and my industry in the education space. It's a Ponzi scheme. Some big names don't care about people. They just keep selling. And because they're a big name, they just churn and burn, churn and burn. So if you do the counter of that, and it's not that scalable, but if you're starting out and you actually care about people, you go in to be of service, you go in to build a relationship first. And then rather than pitching them anything, you ask them for a referral.
Hmm.
Because what will happen is what we found is out of the 10 messages we would send, we'll just put it on the real micro. At least 3 of them would be like, actually, I'm interested in that. Can I have a conversation with you? And then out of that, 2 of them would say, hey, I have somebody that I can refer you to. So 50% of the messages it sent when we asked for a referral opposed to when we directly pitch somebody, because pitching someone's a projection. You're assuming generally, particularly if you're pitching too early in the relationship and you haven't figured out if they even need what you need, which happens unfortunately all the time on DMs, it's disgusting, then you're just projecting that they need what you need. And that's offensive. I'm offended if somebody says to me,
Yeah, that's
hey,
the first interaction, right?
right,
They're assuming I need help with LinkedIn lead generation.
that's
Like,
right.
I
That's
mean,
right.
maybe I do, maybe I don't. Maybe it's not I didn't use it too much. I'm sure it can be valuable. I would use it more in an organic way. I don't know what they are
Yes.
doing with ads or whatever they're doing, but a lot of these people just don't know how to communicate, or I don't know, they're trying to take shortcuts. I think that's bad. Even in an AI world, maybe they are, and even worse, they're crafting it with just AI, and they haven't like personalized this, because that's what you mentioned. You said you lost a little bit touch with the email marketing, like you're doing that. It sounded like to AI, right? So you went in and I assume you customized this a lot more, like adding like human like copy to it. So
Well, the first lines would be personalized. So
yeah.
when we scrape a lead, we get their social media platform, their phone number, and their email. So we would go and have a look at their social media platform and the website of their business, and we're able to personalize that first line, which now we can't do because we do such large volume. But
Hmm.
my goal would be to find out how can we still do that, and I am researching that
Yeah,
right
you're
now,
doing a
but I haven't
crazy.
got a
Yeah, let
solution.
me know when you find it. Like you're doing a
Yeah.
crazy volume. I think that's maybe like for another time, but I think
Yeah.
that's just, yeah, that's just wild what you can do. I do think for the average creator who's maybe might be watching this, or the solopreneur, right? They don't have this problem. I think they don't have this many,
Mhm.
so they can like, they might be writing their email themselves, or they're doing like AI assisted copy basically. But you need to make
Mhm.
sure it's human like, sounds like your personality. Otherwise, you're gonna have pretty much crappy copy or sound like everyone else. That's not good
Mhm.
either. So
Mhm.
when you did it, I don't know when you started. Do you write any of your emails now, or do you have a team that does it for you? And what kind of, how do you do that with AI? Like, do you use ChatGPT for it? What's your process?
So we have a pretty standard first email because we know it works. And that's something that I curated, and we just shift it for each partner. So we don't have a huge percentage of like a huge lot of clients because we do rev share with people. So we work with businesses. Our highest generating client earns 30 million a year, and right down to our lowest is 1 million a year. But we don't work with anyone who's earning under 1 million a year because we become the plug and play outbound AI lead generation system for their business. We just become another department, and we take a percentage of what we make them. So they have to be earning a decent amount for us to be able to do that. They have to have the infrastructure to take the volume we're about to throw into their
Of course.
business.
That seems
Um,
impossible, but yeah.
that's right. It breaks.
Yeah.
We did when we were just an agency and we didn't partner and we had a lot of clients. We did break somebody's business. So
That's crazy.
we then shifted into this. But
That's smart. Yeah.
the email that we use is very standard. It's we go in and we would say something along the lines of the subject line will be like how a company just like yours made $300,000 additional revenue last month. That would be the subject line. That's going to
Yeah,
make a
some similar
CEO
ones. These are
open.
really effective, actually.
Yeah, they're super effective.
Yeah, I've seen
Yeah.
this. I don't think it was from you, but I've seen similar ones. But that's kind
Yeah.
of goes to show that this works. Whatever industry
It,
you're in, this works pretty well.
it works. And then the body of the email, it's very short. It's like 2 sentences. A company just like yours in X industry. That's the only amount of personalization we've figured out yet. We can personalize knowing what industry they're in with AI. In X industry, made blah, blah, blah. Reply with the word case study, and we'll send you the case study. That's it.
Okay. So,
Then once
so
they
okay.
reply,
So the
AI takes
email,
over.
do you use, this is your own tool you're using, or do you initially use chat? I guess it's like ChatGPT built in or something like that. It's like the OpenAI's API, or is that, or are you using like for this ChatGPT like from start, or is that in the tools for getting the emails that you send them?
That's in the tools of for getting the emails that we send them.
Okay, got it. Is that integrated
Mhm.
to Go High Level? I just kind of a technical
Yeah,
question.
it
Yeah,
is.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
very
is. All of our stuff is built in Go High Level, all of our
interesting.
flows. Yeah.
Just a question on this. I just found a tool called AI that can do some,
Yeah.
that integrates actually with Go High. I'm not using Go High Level, but it's just
Yeah.
interesting.
I'm
AI
interested.
that you can do, basically you can do with no code. You can create, let's say you wanted to have a tool for, in my case, I could do a tool for virtual summits. I have a templates. So I put the prompts behind the scenes. That's where I see a lot of people speaking about this on that I've, experts and things like promptless AI. Doesn't mean like prompts will be non-existent. Of course, they're gonna exist like behind the scenes or something like that to give it the information. But I think like to the person using it might be already just some questions, even some specialized tools like Content
Yeah.
at Scale, just answer a few questions about whatever it is, or you add a link and it just identifies that. Like with ChatGPT,
Yeah.
it's more of a generalist, so you need to give it a lot more information. If you, I mean, especially when you use the OpenAI API, you build on top of it and you basically feed it the information, and that's what I would do for. That's what how Formwise works essentially. It's
Yeah.
just using the API. You give it your API key, and then you can get it into high level, or you can just embed it on your website. No code needed. It's pretty
That's
wild.
so cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
So
that's it.
Yeah, that's insane. That's didn't that would cost like thousands and thousands of dollars like just a few years ago or just a
That's
year ago.
wild. That's
Yeah.
insane. Like, that's it. The future. Like, we're only at the beginning, you know? Wow.
Yeah, I think we are just scratching the surface of what is possible. So that leads me on. What are you kind of working on like that you see can take things to the next level? Like what are you excited about when it comes to leveraging this AI technology as a creator, but you're a business owner more than a creator, but how it
Mhm.
translates to this audience here?
I'm extremely excited, like, about the AI clone versions. And I think that is as exciting for creators as it is for me as an entrepreneur, because being able to potentially, if you're a creator, for example, and you're pushing out stuff across Instagram and YouTube and TikTok, you know, and you're physically doing it. Imagine if you could clone yourself and you could sell a membership. And that membership is the clone version of you, breaking down how you did each video you do on YouTube. But it's done all from the clone. Like, the clone just knows your processes because you've trained it with the prompts to know what your processes are. And then you're able to increase your revenue because you've got 1,000 people paying you $100 a month to get behind the scenes of your creative journey every week. Like, it's going to allow us to diversify people to diversify their income as creators. And I think that I could be off a little bit here, but some creators I've spoken to are resistant to it because they feel that it could threaten the creative process. But I would encourage people to look at how they can work harmoniously with AI to accelerate and diversify their creative process so they can generate more revenue for themselves within their business doing what they love.
Yes, then they can also create more because I guess if you're a creator, I mean, I enjoy doing things like this, for example. And if you're like more of a videographer, I'm sure you enjoy creating your videos. Or if you are a photographer, now with tools like Midjourney, it's amazing what you can do. You can replicate like a photo shoot basically, and it
Yeah.
made like so realistic. To be honest, it's crazy, and it's just been a few months ago. I was not as impressed, and now I'm like very impressed, and I'm sure this is just gonna get better and better. So like imagine you paid $2,000 for a photo shoot for one day in New York. Now you can basically pretty much take maybe you have some old images. You can tell, okay, you have some images. They're like Mid Journey or something like that with some good prompts. We're not gonna get into that here, but like you can really do things. You can even like the camera I'm using now. You can tell them I want to use like a Sony A7R Mark 5 or something like that with this bokeh or this lens. Like you can get really specific and get the look you want. I mean, it's just not possible before. I think that's what I'm personally excited about to just scale things further, but keeping the human touch. I think that's what we talked about too, right? So not like leaving that to someone else.
Exactly. And there's also like you can outsource it on Fiverr too, team. If you don't want to learn Midjourney, there are a bunch of people on Fiverr that you can pay $10 and they'll do exactly what you just said for you. And so I think
Yeah.
leveraging AI, if you're overwhelmed by the tools or you don't have time, like, there are people that you can actually access that will do it for you. And because it's with AI, it's actually much cheaper than it ever used to be before. So there's really no reason you
Yeah.
can't use it.
Yeah, it's a little bit faster to do it. Of course, they can create a lot more content for you if you hired someone. So that is a good pro. Like you probably, if you're an entrepreneur or like a creator who's scaling, you're not gonna probably sit all day creating images for your blog in Midjourney or something like that. That would not be a good use of your time.
Okay.
So you would outsource these things. The same thing if you're doing content writing or something like that, or maybe you do your videos. That's great, but maybe you outsource other parts of it, like say, repurposing this content. You don't need to sit there. So as you're scaling, which you are entrepreneur doing a lot of things, you wouldn't sit there and do this yourself. You would other people do it too. So you don't need maybe one person can do a job of five. That's kind of how I see it. Or in your case, you went from 60 to 10, which is
Mhm.
it's just crazy. And you're doing so many leads and so many things, right? That's
And
so
our
good.
revenue has increased exponentially, and our
Oh,
our
wow.
profit margins have increased exponentially.
It's
That's
amazing.
obviously, we shifted our business model, of course, from an agency type retainer monthly to partnerships. However, like, the profit margins, like, that is insane. It's
Yeah,
crazy what it can do.
that's awesome. Yeah. So as we're wrapping up, I have two more questions, I think. What's the number one piece of advice you would give to creators who get started with AI and implement this in their business?
I would think in the beginning, as you're implementing it, you want to keep your genius on the creation tasks because you're the creator. Then ask yourself not what you need to do, but who you need to help you do it. and leverage other outsourcing like people, like I've spoken Fiverr, to help you leverage AI. So for example, if you're pushing stuff out on YouTube and Instagram and you want to add those mid-journey thumbnails like I have, get someone else to do it for you. So you're still leveraging AI, but the person you're getting to do it for you, you pay a low cost because they're using AI and they can do much more volume than ever before. So as a creator, I think your important for you is to stay in the creation and see who else you can get to do the implementation, but still use that implementation so it's working with AI.
Yeah, that's really good. And was there any question that you wanted me to ask, but I didn't, or do you have any final words of wisdom?
I think your questions have been amazing. I've had a great time. I just want to revisit if you want to be successful, find out where the world is going and get there first. And to be wealthy, we don't want to work harder. We just want to build leverage. We're at the prefaces of a incredibly game changing, life changing, world changing evolutionary era of artificial intelligence. And Elon Musk said the future billion-dollar companies will be run by AI and two humans. So just start to think about if it's too much and overwhelming, just start to think about how you can put it in the micro and at the very least outsource to other people so you are leveraging those technologies and it'll get easier as you go. But whatever you do as a creator, please, 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 please leverage AI because you will get left behind if you don't.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to tie it back home because we mentioned this in the beginning, like with the billion
Yeah.
dollar
Mhm.
businesses. And I think whether you reach that or not, that's not the point. Like, I think it's just like the companies that are behind it. Like we will have so many companies leveraging AI and creators. Doesn't matter where you are as an employee, creator, entrepreneur, doesn't matter. You will get left behind if you're not using this technology. I think this is just gonna get better and better. So better get into it here. And if you're watching this, I'm sure you're very interested and you're already taking some action. But just as a final note, where can people connect more with you, Kate, and find out all about you?
Yeah, they can find out. Best place to connect with me is on Instagram, where we connected because I hang
Okay.
out there myself.
Yeah.
I am Kate C. Gray. Just connect in with me there. Obviously, we have the growthimpactgroup.com if you want to have a look at what we do, if you're earning over $1 million a year. And if you're not, I give away everything for free on my Instagram. So come over and connect and have fun.
Awesome. And yeah, if you have any takeaways for this session, do leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. And if you are going to implement something we shared here in this session, subscribe to the channel and like this video. And I'll see you in the next one. Ciao for now.